what are you looking for? Or I guess we could say, what are you looking at? I thought about that. What are you looking at? When I was young, we would look at somebody, maybe stare at them for a little bit, and just wait for them to say, what are you looking at? We would reply with, I don't know, I haven't figured it out yet. But what are you looking for? Matthew 7, verses 7 and 8, very familiar scriptures. We could all probably quote it. Ask and it shall be given you. Seek and you shall find. Knock and it shall be opened unto you. For everyone that asketh receiveth, and he that seeketh findeth, and to him that knocketh it shall be opened. And I ran across this little story yesterday, or maybe the day before, but of course I'd heard it before, and I'm sure most or some of you have. But it said, both the hummingbird and the vulture fly over our nation's deserts. All vultures see is rotting meat, because that's what they're looking for. They thrive on that diet. But hummingbirds ignore the smelly flesh of dead animals. Instead, they look for the colorful blossoms of desert plants. The vultures live on what was. They live on the past. They fill themselves with what is dead and gone. But hummingbirds live on what is. They seek new life. They fill themselves with freshness and life. Each bird finds what it is looking for. We all do. This is not speaking of what we're looking for with our natural eyes, but what do we see with our minds, our thoughts, our attitudes, our faith? It's amazing to watch, to think of the two birds flying over the same desert, the same circumstances, the same situations, but both scenarios are two totally different and opposite scenes play out. And it's also amazing to watch maybe two different people going through the exact same thing and how different people respond to the exact same thing. And I thought about Sister Deidre with what she's going through. She was in here a couple weeks ago, big smile on her face. She said, I just want the Lord's will. How many could do that? How many could be looking at death and smile? And I think Sister Liz said, Brother Sister Anders went to visit her a couple of days ago, and she was good spirited, happy, and but I wonder. I think she's a hummingbird. But how many would just be down in the mully grubs and just depressed and woe is me? But it's what we're looking for. You know where she has her eyes? Amen. But when thinking about the vulture and the hummingbird, one scene is disgusting. Think about a vulture tearing apart a bloody corpse. Why would anybody like a disgusting vulture? But some are just like that, unfortunately. Their attitudes, their outlook on things, their faith or lack thereof has no beauty. It's nothing to be desired. The other, the hummingbird, is serene. I love to see hummingbirds. I know Sister Smith's got hummingbird feeders up. Alicia and I put a hummingbird feeder up. Brother Hawkins told me him and Sister Missy puts up hummingbird feeders. My mom loved hummingbirds, and we get so excited. We just love to watch them. I mean, you study about the hummingbird and how fast their wings beat per second. It's just amazing. We just love the hummingbird. We are drawn to that, and we like to draw them to us so we can look at it. But I've never heard of anybody putting something out trying to attract vultures so they can admire them. There's nothing there. And it's the same way with people. No one wants to be around a vulture spiritually, or someone that's always negative, or always looking at on the bad side of things, always looking down. But we want to be, I know we know this, but we want to be that hummingbird that people, especially sinners, can look at us in amazement and be drawn to what we have, be drawn by the love of God, be drawn and say, wow, that's a work of God. We look at the hummingbird in amazement, and we need. That's the way I desire for people to look at me, not to see me, but to see the miracle that God has done in me. Amen. What can we learn from these two birds? The vulture lives on the past. It lives on what was. It's good to remember the past, but we don't need to live in the glories of the past and fail to strive to regain those glory days. We need to be like the hummingbird. Look for those things that are new and alive and refreshing. Look and expect greater things, better things. Ignore the dead, rotten, smelly carcasses. We can't help but see and notice those things, but don't dwell on them. Just move on and look for the blossoms. What are we looking for? It's been said that if you look for the bad in people, you most surely will find it. So isn't the opposite true? If you look for the good in people. But if we look for good in people, certainly we can find it. So what are we looking for? What we are looking for reveals what is on the inside, what is in our hearts. Also, if we're looking for nothing, guess what we're going to find? If we look for nothing, we're going to get nothing. Seek and ye shall find. If you don't seek, you won't find. Our attitude often reveals what we are looking for. If you're looking for a dead carcass, the chances are you're not a very happy person. You're looking for dead things. You're looking at the past and what was. You're most likely a negative person, never seeing the potential or how things can be or will be. On the other hand, if you're like the hummingbird, you always look for the beautiful flowers. You feed on those things. You look for new life. You're full of vitality. You most likely are a positive and a happy person. You always see the good in people, in circumstances, and even in the bad times. I read this the other day also. It said during a certain war, a chaplain was speaking to a soldier on a cot in a hospital. He said, "You have lost an arm in the great cause." The soldier replied with a smile on his face. He said, "No, I didn't lose it. I gave it." You see, our perspective, our attitude makes the difference. He wasn't looking for pity. He wasn't looking at the bad side of it, but he was looking for the good in his circumstances. We tend to start out strong, whether it be in our walk as Christians or even projects that we may want to do. We see the good and we're excited, but then things go wrong. Maybe things don't go as planned, which is usually the case. And some even give up along the way. They may fail. They get their eyes on the bad, on the circumstances, and get overwhelmed. They fail to keep looking for the colorful blossoms on the desert plants. All they see is the desert. They see the dead carcasses, and without the blossoms and what they get from them, they get weak and die in the desert. But when we set our eyes on our Creator, we see nothing but good. We see nothing but beauty. We see nothing but perfection. How does God see things? But if we are as the hummingbird, it's just the opposite. This hummingbird started in the dry, hot desert, but it was refreshed and found new life in what it was looking for. And I'll end with this verse. Philippians 4:8. Finally, brethren, whatsoever things are true, whatsoever things are honest, whatsoever things are just, whatsoever things are pure, whatsoever things are lovely, whatsoever things are of good report, if there be any virtue, if there be any praise, think on these things.